Okay, let's go. Let's start the sky. There's the reference photograph. Isn't that lovely? Right. Lots of lovely colours. 16 by 12 canvas. My colours are titanium white, naples yellow, cadmium yellow pale, magenta, phaylo blue, burnt umber, burnt sienna, black and cadmium red. Nice colourful palette today. So let's start. Now, I'm going to start by putting in this very light blue here and there on the sky, okay? Let me just get my chair out of the way of the camera so we can all have a nice smooth tutorial. I don't want to be banging the camera or anything like that. I have a damp brush, a flat damp brush, only slightly damp. I'm taking some titanium white with little thinners, and I'm going to go with a touch of phaylo blue, just a touch. You see, it's a very almost kind of greeny blue off in the distance. So I'll take those two colours, now the touch of turpentine, slightly thinned out, and then some naples yellow. Okay, so that should give me a nice soft pale, kind of a bright bluey green off in the distance. And yeah, I think I'll go with that. Now I did oil the canvas earlier today, okay? It's completely dry. I just took some linseed oil and gave it a quick rub with some tissue paper, and it's nice. It gives the canvas a bit of a base, I think, for you to work on. It just makes it nice and easy. It makes the paint flow around nice and easy on the canvas. Do you understand? Now, as it comes across, you can see we're going into sunsetty colours. So I'm just going to take a little bit more naples yellow in my mix as it comes across and up. I'm just going to pop a little bit more naples yellow in on this side, because I can see a very bright yellowy colour just over on this side. Drag it across, okay? Now you may not see this properly on camera. It's there. It's a very subtle yellow. As it comes across, now we're going to start getting more into the blue side of things, okay? A nice cool kind of a blue. So phaylo blue, some titanium white, and just to warm this slightly, I'm going to take a touch of cadmium red. Okay, just a small touch. I'm going to have a look at this now. That's probably better off up here, I think. A little bit around up there. Let me just take another touch of turpentine. I want this quite thin, okay, not too thick. And let's bring it across up there. And maybe a touch of it over here as well. Just scratching it onto the canvas here and there, you see, that's all. Now, as it comes down, I want to really lighten it a lot. So more titanium white and a decent amount of cadmium red. So I want to really make this a soft mauve, a very soft pinky kind of a colour. Okay, so cadmium red, phaylo blue and white. Let's take a look. That's a nice soft kind of a colour there. Now I like that. I'll put that in here. I'm not too worried about covering everything because we have a lot of dark cloud up there as well. So look, I'm not too concerned really at the moment. A bit more cadmium red. I'm going to soften it as it comes down. And as it comes across again, I'm going to soften it there. Now, at this point, I'm going to stop, clean my brush, and just take lots of titanium white with a little of that blue, okay? And I want to just really lighten that towards the bottom like that, look. Soften it across, nice and light. And I think I leave it at that. You don't really, look, you can cover the entire canvas if you like, but you don't have to really. I'm just getting just the bulk of the blue in, okay? Now I'm going to stop. I want to just warm the right hand side over there. We've a nice yellowy colour coming into the sunset over there. So I'll take some naples yellow and a touch of cadmium red, and I'm going to soften that colour in here like this. I'm going to bring it up slightly. Now soften it across like that. Just go very soft across, hardly touching the canvas. Then I'm going to take some cadmium red on its own, mix it in with that. So a lovely kind of a peachy, pinky colour. And I'm just going to sort of pop a little bit of that in here and there, down towards the bottom of the sky. Maybe bring it back a little. You see, just popping it in, just rubbing it across here and there. Now that'll do fine. I'm cleaning my brush again, and I think with the background colour pretty much there, I'm going to now start adding some rich, deep, dark cloud into all of this, okay? You can see we have a very rich, dark grey up here. So let's try some lamp black and some phaylo blue. And I do want to get this colour right, okay? It's a particular shade of grey. It kind of starts off cold up here and it warms as it comes across. So what you do really with something like this, you may feel this is a bit over the top for you. What I would say is focus on one side, okay? So I took a bit of cadmium red there now as well into that. So I've black, cadmium red, and I have a hint of blue. But it looks like there's more blue in the mix. Let me just try this. Yes, a bit more blue, okay? Let's just put a bit more blue in there. And what's going to happen is, as you're mixing this, it's going to kind of soften into the background blue. So that's why I'm mixing it nice and dark initially. So look, I'm just going to go like that. I'm following the direction of the cloud. You see, that's where it kind of comes across. And up like that. And I think a bit more blue, perhaps, just a touch more blue, make it slightly more bluey. And go up here into the corner, right out of the painting, okay? Now, let's go sort of dance around on the canvas with this colour. Bit more blue again. Dance around. You can see I'm just being very loose and very sort of messy with the brush, okay? Don't worry about this, we're going to soften all of this with the soft brush later. And when you come down here, I'm just going to literally soften that off, okay, like that. And as we come down, I'm going to sort of taper off at the bottom down here. You see this? I'm just kind of using the corner edge of my brush and just sort of letting it taper away off into the distance. You see that? Just popping little touches of colour across. Now I won't go any further than that. I'll leave it there and it's going to start warming as it comes across. So literally take some magenta into this mix. We now kind of go into a more plummy, sort of a pinky bluey colour, all right? It's a nice mauve. Soften it in here and bring it across, right up. Let me just fix my reference photograph there. Bring it right up, don't be shy. And I'll do that again, a little bit of magenta, a touch of blue. Even pick up some of that whitey colour look, soften some of that through. And maybe a touch of cadmium red as it comes across into the sunsetty colours. It's going to get nice and sort of pinkyish, let's say. You can't see it on the photograph very much, but I'm going to make it slightly more on the pink side as it comes across. All right, and just softening it across just slightly. Hint of a reddy kind of a colour going across. Now this probably looks very sort of random and stuff like that, but I'm going to now switch to a smaller brush. I'll go for a small little flat brush like this, okay? I'm going to start putting in some nice warm hues down here. I'll try some cadmium red and some naples yellow, okay? Just gives us a nice peachy, again, a nice peachy pinky kind of a colour. And I'm going to literally just go like this and pop some of that. You see that lovely orangey kind of a colour we have down at the bottom down there? Just pop some of that in. Again, I'm being very loose with all of this. Very, very loose. Up here, just at the bottom of the cloud there. Just scratching a little bit of that orangey colour through the cloud here and there. Now you can kind of begin to get a sense of the colours coming out, can't you? It's slow, it takes time, but kind of follow the colours on your photograph, okay? And try not, again, I keep saying it, try not to get it perfect first time. You will have to work on these and work on them as you go, okay, bit by bit. Just don't try to finish it all and get it all perfect your first time. There we go. Just add a bit of movement into that one there. So you can see now I'm just kind of picking up some of that colour, that pinky colour, and just simply kind of, you know, transferring it across the canvas. Now the reason this is not going green is because I'm keeping plenty of red in the mix, okay? Now there's a nice bit of Naples yellow, but it's more pink, you can see it here. It's more of a pinky colour, so it's softening nicely into the blues and the greys without going green. The last thing we want now is a nice big splash of green going through this painting. It's the last thing we want, isn't it? So, couple of, even take a hint of magenta, and we can get some nice soft pinky ones off in the distance as well. And soften them across into this one as well. I'm then going to take some magenta. I can see just around here, just very, very subtle touches of a pinkish hue going through the clouds. Now it's very subtle, you probably can't see it, but I can kind of make out little tiny hints of pink in the cloud here and there. So I just want to put that in now before I soften everything together, okay? A little bit over here perhaps. So you can see then that kind of hint of pink, it just warms those clouds ever so slightly. Okay, let me just stop now. We'll stop there for a moment, see where we're going to go from here. I'm going to start putting in some darker clouds. So I want to just bring out those darker clouds again off in the horizon. Let's take some phthalo blue, some magenta, a bit too much magenta there now, isn't it? A bit of magenta and a touch of cadmium red, I think. Little touch. And I might add to this just a touch of white because it's a bit dark, isn't it? We've a nice purpley kind of a grey colour now, don't we? And let's just go along and just pop some clouds in like that, look. And because they're off in the distance, you can see they're just almost horizontal across, yes? They're not big fluffy clouds like this. They're just small little horizontal clouds popping in and out here and there. Little wiggle here and there as well. A little bit of shading on this one. And I'll add a bit of darker stuff to this as well. Just up around the middle there, I'm going to make that nice and dark. Phthalo blue, cadmium red, and a touch of black. So I'm going really dark just around the middle. I really want to create an impact with this sky, okay? You know, I see a lot of paintings online, especially from, you know, some of the more amateur artists. And one thing I notice is their dark colours, their clouds and their shadows, for example, they're just not dark enough and they don't make that impact. So I always say, always keep your darks really dark, nice and dark. It's easy enough to lighten them, okay? You can just add a bit of white and go over them or rub them off with some tissue or something if they're not right. But don't be afraid to make nice, rich, dark clouds. All right, that's what I'll say. I'll go up here now, just add a bit of dark up there. Like that. You see, just simply scraping the brush around. That's literally all I'm doing, scraping it around. Bit of more blue in there. I just want to really show the darks in the centre of the painting coming across. I'll thicken that up a bit here. Again, I'm just going around in little circles, that's all I'm doing. Okay, now go over here and just sort of flick that one off, leave it disappear up into the sky. And the great thing about the oils is, of course, all of this is mixing together. If this was acrylics, it would be difficult because it would just be drying out and, you know, the colours wouldn't soften together as easily if it were acrylics. So it just makes it much easier, okay? Now I'm going to stop at that and I'm going to take my fan brush. I have a very soft fan brush here. It's just literally a makeup brush. I'm going to just start softening all of this together now. I'm going to just drag this one across like this first. Just pulling it across. And then as I come down into the horizon, I'm just going to soften these. And you can see I'm just kind of going in that direction, sort of pulling them down into the center of the painting. Does that make sense? Soften these back. And you can see now we have a nice soft sky, don't we? You can soften it as much as you like. You can soften it right out, or you can just soften it a little. It's up to yourself, really. I'm just going to really go to town on this now and soften this away nicely. So we have a nice violent kind of a sky up there, don't we? Now, let me just stop. Sit back, always sit back and take a look at what you're doing. And that's not bad now, I like that. Now I might darken it again, because I can see just around here, you see that very dark line we have coming in. It's a really stormy cloud. I'm going to go darker again. I'm going to take some black and this time some burnt umber. So 2 of those colours and a touch of phaylo. That'll give me a very blacky, muddy, blacky colour, okay? A touch more brown, I would say. Just a touch, a very muddy colour, very dark grey, a very dull, muddy kind of a grey. Up there like that. Comes down and then really dark across the middle, isn't it? And I go right across and up slightly. And you can use a bigger brush for this now as well if you like. Okay, please, by all means. You use what brush makes you feel comfortable. I'm just using a slightly smaller one because it gives me more control. Just for these clouds. Normally I would use a big brush, a slightly bigger brush, but I think just for these clouds, just to give me a bit more direction and a bit more precision, let's say, I'm just going to use this little brush, just like this. Now that's not bad, it's coming on quite nice. I'm going to take some blue and some magenta and maybe a touch of black. I'm going to pop a little of that purpley pink in there as well. So you can see now we've all these lovely colours popping in and showing through, don't we? Warm colours, cool colours. That's what we want. That's exactly what we want. Now put a little bit of dark down at the bottom there. Like that. So we have a nice direction now of clouds coming across the sky, don't we? Okay, back to our fan brush. I'll start at the bottom, I think. I'll just sort of flick those, soften them out. See, I'm sort of going around in circles and I'm flicking in all different directions just to give me some movement in the sky, really. That's all I want to do. Create a bit of movement. And a soft blender brush for this is perfect. It just gives you that beautiful soft feeling. Okay, now I'll stop at that. I think that's okay. I'm going to go with that. The next step in this beautiful little picture now, I'm very happy with this, is to put on some really nice warm highlights. So I'm going to clean my small flat brush, make sure it's very clean. We don't want any dirty colour in this. And okay, we have to be slightly careful with this because I don't want any greens again. I'm going to go with Naples yellow and some cadmium red. And I can see I still have little touches of that muddy colour showing through on the brush. So I'm going to start again. I'll just give it a quick clean. A bit of cadmium red. And I think I'll start off with this orangey hue first, okay? It's going to go along like that. and pop this kind of pinkyish orangey colour in. And okay, it comes up like that. Let's pop a little bit in here. So I'm starting with the slightly softer colours, and I'll then put in my lovely rich sort of orangey colours and yellowy colours last. A little bit over here, look, like that, popping across, and a couple of little hints of it here and there, cutting across there like that, okay. And then up here we have some really nice ones like this, don't we? Sort of funny kind of shapes showing through. Now if I took Naples yellow like this and just put it up there, it would go green. So that's why I'm adding a touch of red first. So I'm going with a reddy shade first, okay? That way you don't get that greeny hue popping through, okay? Now I'm going to soften this reddy colour in first. See what I mean? Just here and there. Like that. And what I'm doing now is just building up the layers very, very slowly. Just building them up. I'm taking my time. Okay. I might even use a hint of magenta as well. And we have a little touch of that pinky colour popping into the sky up here and up there. Okay, like that. And clean your brush after each time. That keeps it nice and fresh and clean. Let's try some magenta with some Naples yellow. That's a nice pinky colour, isn't it? Pop a little pink in through here and there. And that pinky colour will really help with the warmer colours later on. It really will help. Little more touch of magenta, and pop another little bit of that up there. So by putting in the kind of pinky colours and the orangey pinky colours, it's much easier to go on with a yellowy orange afterwards. If I put on my yellowy colours first, they'll just go green. Alright, they'll get very messy and muddy and just end up green. So that's why I start with this kind of pinkyish orange first. It just really, really does make a difference, okay? Don't be tempted just to go for a yellowy colour straight away. Now I'm going to just take my soft brush and just kind of soften those, sort of just back and forward just a little bit. Just want to soften them back in, take the edge of the paint from them. But I'm not softening them too much, you see. I'm keeping the shapes of the brush strokes, just going around very quickly, very loosely, just like that. And I think now we can go in with some really rich colours. Now you could even use a palette knife for this if you wanted to really catch those highlights. But I'm not gone on the palette knife just yet. I'll try some cadmium yellow and some cadmium red. So I think I'll just go with that first, and I'm going to add plenty of yellow and plenty of red into this. Make it nice and thick, okay? There you go. I make it slightly on the reddy side. So it's a reddy orange rather than a yellowy orange, if you know what I mean. Let's try it and see. Okay, just like that. That's still a little bit yellow for me. I think another touch of red. So I'm going for a rich colour. Come down here and I'm going to just pop a little bit of that across here and there as well. You could use magenta as well for this if you like. So the sun is just catching some of the clouds just here and there. The magenta and yellow will give you a sort of a muddy orange. So I'm sticking with cadmium red just for now. A bit more cadmium red in the mix. And for me, the trick with all of this is to build up slowly to that final kind of yellowy colour, okay? I'm building it up slowly. I'm getting just lighter and lighter. So I'm starting off with the kind of orangey, reddy orangey colours. And then I'll finish with the yellowy ones. So yellow being the last colour I'm going to put on, okay? That's still a little bit of yellow there now. That's gone a bit green, you see? It's gone slightly green up there. So what I'm going to do is, up there, I'm going to just make it a light pink. Let's take some magenta, some white. And we could even try a touch of cadmium yellow as well, look. Let's just try it. That might warm it ever so slightly. And that gets rid of the muddiness almost immediately. Right, let's try it again. Let's get magenta with a bit of white and some cadmium yellow. And that does warm the colour a little bit. I need to go over this section here because that's very muddy. Just got kind of away from me slightly. I'm going to soften those back in just a little. The soft brush really helps for this, doesn't it? It really does add a lovely soft feeling to any sky. Okay, we're getting the colours out, aren't we, ever so slightly. So I think I go in now with a nice bright colour. And do you know what? I think I will try the palette knife. Will we try the palette knife? What do you think, my friends? Am I confident enough to try the palette knife? I don't know. I'm going to try it. Okay, let's go. Let's just try it. Take some cadmium yellow, a little cadmium red, or no, let's try a little magenta. Cadmium yellow with a little magenta. That should just dull it down ever so slightly, and a little white. I'm slightly nervous now about this because this could go very wrong. A little bit more magenta. The magenta just neutralizes the yellow ever so slightly. Maybe a hint of Naples yellow. It's worth a try, I think. Let's give it a go. Let's try a gamble. I'm not a gambling man, but let's try it. Okay, I'm going to go like this. Okay, and I'm going to go like that. I think I do need a little touch more magenta in this, just to make it that slightly more pinkish kind of a colour. So, okay, let's have a look around now. Let's see, put a little touch of it there. A little touch of it there. So you see, you can use a palette knife as well for painting. There's no rules to say you can't. For highlights and skies and all that kind of thing. It really is wonderful, a wonderful tool. Now I'm going to just go and take some of this pinky colour as well and just kind of scrape a little bit of that pink around here and there. So you can see now we're kind of catching some quite nice colours in all of this, aren't we? And I will soften with the edge of my knife. Look, I'll just use my knife to sort of just work out some of that colour into the clouds around. I don't want a solid colour. I want a nice soft sort of a colour up there. Let me take some Naples yellow and magenta. And what I'm going to do is just help neutralise any greens in this by popping a little bit of that pinkish, that light pinky colour in through some of the clouds, okay? Naples yellow, a little magenta, and let's go up here and add some of that light colour to these. Let's go wild. And I think finally I might just add a really rich shade, a nice bright one. So firstly, I'm just going to go again and soften some of these in. Very lightly drag your brush across. You see the way I'm using the tip of my fan brush like this. You see the soft brush? Any soft brush. I'm going around the little circles just to soften out the edges of that just a little. Tiny, tiny little bit. Okay? Not too much. Just enough. Okay. Now, I think the final one is a nice bright shade. I could add a little bit of shading to it, actually, come to think of it. I could take a nice plum, if you want. We could try this. Let's take a nice plum, and we could make a nice little shade in some of these. And again, I'm always making these colours more on the pinky side, okay? Especially for anything that involves a yellow or an orange, make the shadows nice and pinky. That'll really help, it really will. Okay, I'm soften these now back again, okay? Just very lightly, you see that? Just very, very gently. And you may think I'm overdoing this now, but I just, you know what? I just really want to create a nice sky, a rich sky. I think finally now, our last colour for the sky, and the sky is finished, a nice bright, rich, eye-catching, yellowy sunset colour. Naples yellow, cadmium yellow, and a hint of cadmium red, okay? I just want to try that for now. Actually, I'll take a little bit more cadmium and Naples. I think this is going to be the final highlight, the really bright, strong highlight. And maybe a hint of white. Just make that a little more dramatic. And possibly a little touch of that up here as well. Now, I think finally I'll take some cadmium yellow and some white. Just to really bring out some of the brights, okay? Just to really, really go to town with some of these bright colours. And I might just leave it at that. I'm pretty happy with that. You know, it's a nice bright sky. Pop a scratch of a bright yellow just across the bottom there as well. And finally, I think I'll just, again, very gently soften the corner of my brush. Just soften those across. You could refine some of these with a pointy brush if you like. I don't feel I need to be quite honest. I'm quite happy with that. That's not bad. Okay, they may be a little on the yellow side. If you feel it's all getting a little bit yellow, you could just take some magenta and some Naples yellow. Okay, so we have a nice soft pink. If you feel it's just getting a bit yellow, you could just take this colour magenta, naples yellow, which creates a nice soft pink, and you could just go in, add a touch of that soft pink, just to tone down some of the yellow, okay? You can, of course, you can, you know, it's your painting, you do what makes you feel right. If you don't feel it's right, then change it. So I just had to put something on there now just to tone them down just a little bit. So, how is this all coming together, do you think? Pop a little bit of light over there. You could soften this right out now if you want to, and leave it almost disappear into the sky. It's completely up to yourself, really. But I like to leave some texture and some direction on the canvas. So I think I'll leave it at that. Now you can see a bit of a glare up there, you can see that? That's really annoying, isn't it? I'm inside the kitchen here, so I have overhead light coming down. So if I just tilt this up there, you can kind of get a clearer picture, can't you? I might add some very bright colour just down around the bottom of that, because there's a very bright bluey sort of a turquoisey kind of a sky down at the very bottom down there, isn't there? So let me get a small brush and pop a little bit of that in. Let's take some white, a little phaylo blue, and maybe a touch of cadmium yellow. Very, very bright colour. Pop a little bit of that in. I can see a fair bit of that in there, can't we? That will separate the clouds as well nicely. So you can put these colours on afterwards as well, you see. There's no restriction with oil painting. You can put colours on or take colours off. It's completely up to yourself. There we go. Again, a nice bright colour. And we could pop a little bit of that in here. A little bit up there. And you don't want this getting very sort of messy. So look, I wouldn't overdo this. I really wouldn't. I would take my time and just add little touches on. If you feel it's going slightly over the top and you're losing what you had done, I would just stop, okay? Really. But, you know, with painting, it's very difficult to know when to stop, because you get lost in the painting, you get sort of lost in the moment. So I'm just going to leave it. I think I should just leave it at that. Dare I do any more, for fear of ruining what I've just done? I don't know. That's the trick, knowing when to stop. And right now, I just don't know if I should stop or not. But look, just add a little bit of a bluey green over there. Now I made a bit of a mistake there, you see that? Let's just take a bit of white and pop a little bit of white over it. Okay, I'll stop and I'll think. I'll just look at that for the evening and see if I feel I need to put any more on there. I don't think I do. I think that's quite nice. I'm quite pleased with that. I might just add a touch more pink through this yellow, just to make it slightly more pinky and a bit more on the plummy side, dare I say it. Let me get a little touch of pink here. Let's try it. Let's just pop a little bit of pink through some of this. Just to try and tone down some of what we did here, okay? Maybe just a little bit of shading here and there. And it's literally pink, that's all I'm using, okay? A little bit of magenta, there's a touch of blue in this as well, but not that much really. We can just use that to sort of tone down some of our colours and soften it through then again. With a clean fan brush, a clean brush. You see, I made a mistake there now of not cleaning my brush, but it's okay. We're out of the woods, I think. Let's give all this a nice soften. Okay, I'm going to call this part 1 finished, my friends. The sky is finished. Moving on to the seascape. Yeah, I'm quite happy. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll be right back with part 2 when we finish this lovely ocean and some cliffs. We can always add more to this later if we like, okay? So don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for watching.